Hey Rackets, it's Mrs. Wilkenbush, back with our book club, Galaxy Games, The Challengers, by Greg R. Fishbone. Today we're going to do chapters 10 and 11. Let's get started. Chapter 10, Platte Bluff, Nevada. Tyler squirmed at the unfamiliar desk in an unfamiliar classroom. His teacher, Mrs. Hogan, hadn't come to school that day, and there were no substitutes available. Principal Johansson combined the class with Mr. Hartman's, and enough kids were absent that everyone fit into the classroom with empty desks to spare. "We're going to have an open study day," said Mr. Hartman. He didn't look up from the computer on his desk. "Read your books and try to learn as much as you can before the end of the world. Before the end of the day." "Mr. Hartman," Wendy Giardelli held her arm up with a flagpole as tears streamed down her face. "Can I use the bathroom?" "Sure," said the teacher. "Do whatever you want." Wendy left, and Tyler never saw her come back. Tyler tried to study for a while. He wanted to act like everything was normal, like his mom had said, but that was hard to do when everyone else was goofing off. One of the boys was giving away a comic book collection, one book at a time. Some girls were drawing pictures on their desk. When a spitball fight broke out, Mr. Hartman did nothing to stop it. Eric passed Tyler a note. "Braden says you had a party without me. He says you named stars after yourself. He said you had pizza." Tyler wrote back, "So?" "So," Eric wrote, "you know how much I like pizza. You invited Braden and John and Lucas and not me. What gives?" Tyler wrote, "You wouldn't want a star. It wouldn't fit in your room." Tyler wanted to point out that Eric had written your instead of you are, your with an apostrophe R-E, but he didn't. "I'm not special," he wrote back. Eric pushed the note off his desk without reading it. Tyler wrote another note. "I'm sorry, okay?" Eric crumpled the paper and tossed it in the recycle bin at the front of the room. He missed by more than a foot. Eric never did have a very good hook shot. "Are you going to pick that up, young man?" asked Mr. Hartman. "No," said Eric. "Hey, just checking." Mr. Hartman went back to watching his computer screen. He let the crumpled note stay where it was. A few other boys threw crumpled papers at the bin as well. When they ran out of note paper, they tore pages from their textbooks. "Eric," Tyler spoke out loud instead of writing it on the note. Eric blocked his ears and moved his desk away. Great, thought Tyler. Not only was the world about to end, but now his best friend wasn't talking to him, and he wasn't sure which upset him more. Later in the morning, Mr. Hartman looked up from his computer screen. He looked right at Tyler. "Hey, you're that kid." "What kid?" Tyler asked. "The kid that they've been talking about all over the internet. Holy cow, this show is all about you and your mom." "My mom?" Tyler ran to the front of the room. Yolanda Speaks Out, one of the talk shows that Tyler's mom liked, streamed through a tab in Mr. Hartman's browser. "We've seen it over and over, but let's look at that video again," said Yolanda. Tyler's mom appeared on the screen, pushing Tyler in front of her. Tyler could hardly believe it. The entire world was watching him on the Yolanda show. Tyler's mom shook a fist. "If you don't get those microphones away from me, this will be your last day on earth," she shouted. Then she did it backwards. Then she did it again and again in slow motion. It seemed to last forever. Yolanda returned to the screen. Behind her was a huge, snarling picture of Tyler's mom, looking scarier than any horror movie monster. "That's what I'm talking about," said Yolanda. "You can't act that in front of your children. It's bad parenting. Am I right or am I right?" "You're right, Yolanda," said a woman in the talk show audience. "Mrs. Sato doesn't respect herself, and she doesn't respect her child. Did you see the bathrobe she's wearing? You just know she's been drinking." "But that's not what happened," Tyler blurted out. Everyone in class stared at him. "Really?" Tyler said. "There were reporters all over the front lawn, and my mom told them to go away. That's all." He was there. He knew what happened. But looking at that big, scary picture behind Yolanda, even Tyler wasn't sure anymore. "Too bad it's not up to me," said Yolanda. "I'd take that child away from her. It would be the best thing for him." Her TV audience rose to their feet, cheering and applauding. Tyler pushed the computer monitor off Mr. Hartman's desk and onto the floor. The screen cracked, popped, and went dark. "Hey!" Mr. Hartman picked up the monitor and pressed all the buttons, but the screen remained black. Are you going to send me to the principal's office? Tyler asked. The teacher fell back into his chair. Nah, I'd have done the same if Yolanda insulted my mother. Why don't you just go to lunch, all of you, or take an extra recess period? If I'm not here when you get back, just do what you want. Tyler watched all the kids race out of the room before Mr. Hartman had a chance to change his mind. I think I learned something today, Tyler told Mr. Hartman. What's that? If a bunch of reporters show up at your house some morning, the best thing to do is say nothing at all. Middle solar system, 260 million miles from Earth. The pilot of the silver spaceship finished reviewing results from the galactic quinternet. Daisato was a colorful planet from the marshes of D Minor 7. Daihado was a table game played on planet Yahtzee. Taisata was a dance step invented by Flannel Nebula, but there was no entry for anything called Taisato. The pilot called the ship's technician to the bridge. There was obviously something wrong with the ship's translation system. Platte Bluff, Nevada. Tyler ate lunch with John, Braden, and Lucas. The school had brought in food from Burger Barn because the cafeteria workers never showed up. Braden dug into a box of chicken lick and chunks. He chewed each chunk at least 10 times. I want to make this last, he said. It might be our last lunch ever. Second to last, said Lucas between his bites from Barnstorm Burger. If Taisato hits Earth, it'll happen tomorrow afternoon. Tyler frowned into his green jean salad. I wish people would stop calling it that. Sorry, said Lucas. At least you get to be famous for a day, said John. Yeah, said Braden. The rest of us might not even see the middle school. I won't either, Tyler reminded them. Someone wheeled a TV into the cafeteria from the teacher's lounge. It was turned to the news. Tyler recognized the building behind the reporter's back. That looks like our school. It is our school, said Lucas. Didn't you see all the news vans outside? How does it feel to be friends with Tyler Sato? The reporter asked the kid Tyler had never seen before. Ty's a great guy, said the kid. We hang out all the time. He has a killer asteroid name after him, but I'm still proud to call him my best friend. A boy at the next table pointed to the screen. Hey, everybody, if we say we're Ty's friends, we can get on TV too. Race you to the news van, someone else said. A mob of kids Tyler hardly knew all rushed outside pretending to be his friend. Tyler's real friends stayed at the table except Eric Parker. He sat at another table and glared. Tyler couldn't believe Eric was acting that way just because Tyler didn't invite him to the pizza and star naming party. Only a 10-year-old could get that upset about something like that. Want to come over after school? John asked. We have soccer practice, Tyler reminded him. Tyler's friends looked at him as if he'd lost his mind. Come on, Lucas. You don't really think Mr. Bogus will have soccer practice today? Tyler shrugged. It's a crazy day. Who knows? Chapter 11. Middle Solar System. 250 million miles from Earth, the Mandrarian captain accepted another quantum call from her father parent. The ambassador's impatience came through in the tone of his voice, in the folds around his eyes, and in the posture of his body on the holographic display. What is taking so long, Mafroza? I'm sure that by now you would have dispatched this pointless challenge and returned home in victory. Home? Asked Mafroza. Do you really wish me to go there? You know what I mean, the ambassador snapped. Certainly I don't want you on Madraya right now, but I need you back here with me. I need to keep 3 eyes on you at all times to know that you are safe. This is a difficult time for our people, and we can't afford any of our enemies taking advantage of our weakness. Which is exactly why I can't refuse any challenges right now, the captain stated. Wouldn't our enemies find that suspicious? The ambassador made a sound that mixed a grumble with a rippling of his face tentacles. Just watch out for yourself, daughter child, and don't take any unnecessary risk. Agreed, said Mafroza, although she twisted a pair of nervous tentacles behind her back as she said it. Tokyo, Japan. 25 hours before the most important event in human history, Dakai and Tamako walked together through the residential neighborhood where the Shindu family lived. Houses and apartment buildings crowded together on narrow streets that had no names. According to the news, riots had broken out in major cities around the world. Some countries had even deployed soldiers and combat tanks to keep the peace. But the news people weren't reporting about quiet areas like Decai's, where most people were staying home, and the only sign of trouble was a black smudge on the southern sky. Something in Shinjuku was burning, but too far away for any fire engines to be heard. Decai stopped at a vending machine for a can of hot cocoa. He offered some to Tamako, but she shook her head. Chocolate makes me hyper, and other kinds of caffeine too, which is a shame because I really like green tea. And what's wrong with being a little hyper sometimes? This quick, rambling speech seemed like a question, and even came with a very short pause. But Tamako started talking before Decai could form a thought. You'd think that being on the edge would be an advantage in a judo match, but Obi-chan says directed action comes from a calm mind, and my mind isn't calm even without caffeine. So that's a no? You don't want a sip of cocoa? Tamako shrugged. The world's ending tomorrow anyway, so why not? She put the hot can to her lips and drained it, and handed back the empty container. Look, a river! Decai searched around for a recycling bin before following his friend. He caught up with Tamako in the middle of the footbridge. She had stopped to peer over the railing at the river's yellowish-brownish water. That's a Candagua, he told her. It's so sad. Decai frowned. Who said? The river. You know it used to be wild and free before people built concrete banks to tell it where to flow, and drains and dams to keep it from flooding. We've taken this beautiful thing of nature and made it a controlled and artificial. The river is sad, and that makes me sad too. I've never known anybody who could feel sorry for a river. That's because you've never known me. Tamako stood and watched the river intently for a very long time. Decai had to wonder whether she saw something different than just flowing water and the occasional floating twig of leaf. You should see it when it's full of cherry blossom petals, he told her. Dake-san? Her voice was almost a whisper. Hi? What do you think the river will do when we're not around to tell it where to go anymore? It was such a strange question that Decai must have thought he misheard her. I'm sorry, what? When Taisato hits Earth, we'll have fires, earthquakes, a cloud of dust that blocks out the sun, a new ice age, and the end of human civilization as we know it. But the river will still be here. What will happen when people aren't around to tell the river what to do anymore? Kandegawa-sama may be sad now, but because it can't change direction or spread out over the streets. But do you think the river will miss humans at all after we're gone extinct? Decai put his hands on Tamako's shoulders and turned her away from the railing. Tamako-san, it's a river. It has no feelings. She nodded. Of course, you're right. I was just thinking. I do that sometimes when I'm bored and there's nothing to do. And I'm waiting. And do you think the hospital will mind if we went to see Obi-chan before visiting hours officially start? We should wait, said Decai. Maybe we could watch some Hunter Elf videos or play a game. Oh, we could look for Takeda Sensei at the arcade. He's a worthy opponent and also an effective teacher. He was even kind enough to let me win. Mori-sama banished Takada-sama from the arcade. Tamako blinked in confusion. But why would a grand master like Takada Sensei be forbidden from competition? Decai told Tamako about the magazine cover, about June's tantrum, and about the broken machine, although he chose not to tell her that he'd been the one who'd found the magazine and brought it to the arcade in the first place. As Decai spoke, Tamako's eyes widened, her mouth hung open, and she began to shake. This is horrible. I can't allow Takada Sensei to be punished for defending my honor. I don't think that's why. There could be no other reason for Takada Sensei to attack a machine. Tamako raised her right fist to the sky. As you are my witness, Decai-kan, I will avenge this injustice and return Takada Sensei to his proper place in the world of arcade gaming. Decai sighed. How is it that everyone around here knows how to make a dramatic speech except me? Middle solar system. 225 million miles from Earth, the pilot of the silver spaceship was angry enough to blow jets of steam from his first, third, and fifth nose holes. The ship's technician had taken the translation system apart. Pieces were scattered all over the bridge, and now the fool couldn't put the machine back together. The pilot would have called the technician an idiot, but the pilot spoke only Northern Mandarin, while the technician spoke only Southern Mandarin. Without a working translation system, they couldn't understand each other at all. Takai pushed through a crowded, jammed street and stalled Tokyo, Japan. Takai and Tamako pushed through a crowded street jammed with stalled traffic and angry pedestrians. Police officers with bullhorns asked people to return to their homes, but nobody seemed to be listening. Missionaries handed out pamphlets and raised signs that read, "The world ends tomorrow, and this is what that means." It said, "Tai Sato is coming. Repent." The punch-packed video came was code. Takai peered through the glass door. The overhead lights where the neon gateway was dark, but the game machine still flashed through their glowing demo screens. "I've never seen this place closed before." "We have to get in," said Tamako. "Can you judo kick the door open?" Tamako snorted. "Don't be silly. Judo is the subtle art of using an opponent's strength to one's own advantage. How am I supposed to do that against an inanimate object?" "Well, sorry, what do you suggest?" "We must think like warriors. What would Hunter Elf Zeta do in a situation like that?" "Jump into a tree and start firing magic arrows from her longbow," said Takai. "Yes, I see." Tamako looked around the busy retail street. "Nothing but street light poles here. Also, I'm entirely out of magic arrows and longbows." "Mori-sama probably isn't there anyway." Takai leaned against the glass door and slid down to a sitting position on the sidewalk. "This is a useless quest." "There is no such thing, Daka-san. When I visit Obi-chan in the hospital today, I want to be able to tell her that I did something good and noble with my time. That will make her feel better until the asteroid wipes us out. Somehow we need to find Mori-sama and convince him to allow his best player back into the arena. Then we need to find Takada-sensei and have him play against me again, and this time let him know it's okay to play his best and beat me. Then everything will be as it was before, until civilization comes to a fiery end." "I wish you'd stop saying things like that," Takai complained. A cinder block smashed through the window of an electronics store further down the block. A gang of teenagers scrambled out of the building with their arms loaded with cameras, phones, and laptops. Takai jumped to his feet. "Where are the police?" "Busy." Tamako nodded at an officer who seemed to have joined the missionaries in their somber march around the train station. The officer held a hastily handwritten sign that said, "Have a nice doomsday." One of the teenagers pointed their way. "Hey, look, an arcade! I've always wanted my own Time Crisis arcade game." The rest of the gang followed him with their bars, crowbars, tire irons ready to attack the glass storefront. Yet another incident where magic arrows would come in handy, Tamako pointed out. "It's too bad life isn't more like Hunter Elf Zeta." "We should get out of here," said Takai. "I agree," said Tamako. "I might be a judo champion, but only a crazy person would stand between a gang and their looting." As if summoned by magic words, a rounded body figure stepped out of the crowd and glared at the approaching teens. He adjusted the bandana on his forehead, cracked his knuckles, and growled through gritted teeth. It was Jun Takada, and he was angry as a raging dragon. "Hashimoto-san," he rasped at the leader of the gang. The gang leader narrowed his eyes. "Takado-san? You know each other?" asked Takai. "Hashimoto Fumo-san goes to my high school," said Jun. "He's the captain of the chess club." Fumio grinned. "Even chess club geeks have the right to rampage at the end of the world. What do you say, Takada-san? Would you care to join us?" "You shouldn't steal things that don't belong to you," Jun stated. Fumio laughed. "Come on, Takada-san, live a little. What are they going to do, throw us in jail for the rest of our lives? That's less than a day." "Leave the pack punch arcade alone," Jun ordered. Your fighting and violence aren't welcome in this place of fighting and violence, Tamako whispered to Dakai. That almost made sense. He has a way with words, Dakai agreed. I heard you were banished from this place, Fumio said to June. The arcade isn't a place. The arcade is a bug that digs under your skin and swims through your veins. I don't need to be inside the arcade because the arcade is inside of me. Even when I'm not playing Techo Fight Extreme on stream, I'm still playing it right up here. June tapped a finger against the side of his head. Now stand back before I hit the special combination that calls lightning down from the sky. He's completely lost his mind, Dakai whispered to Tamako. We have to stop him before he gets hurt. Too late, Tamako exclaimed. John Takada, with his pudgy's hands clenched in pudgy fists, was charging at full speed at the other teens. What a battle this is going to be! Takada-sensei has the berserk rage of a video gamer, while Hashimoto-sama has the patience of a stark, tactical mind of a chess player. There's no telling who will win. 5 feet from his target, June stopped running. Time out! He sputtered between labored breaths. He reached into his pocket for his asthma inhaler and took 2 puffs. Okay, time in. Fumio slapped June across the face. June blinked. Hey, that stung! Then have another. Fumio slapped again. Ow! Want more? Fumio slapped again. Ow! Now cut that out! Tamako sighed. This isn't the grand battle I expected. Takada-sama? Dakai called out. Your nose is bleeding. It is? June rubbed under his nostrils and took a long look at the bright red fluid on his fingers. His face went pale, his eyes rolled into the back of his head, and he fell forward in a faint. Fumio screamed as a much larger boy landed on top of him. I give up! I'll leave the arcade alone. Just somebody get him off of me. The other members of Fumio's chess club gang dropped their stolen goods and ran away. Victory! Tamako exclaimed. Takada-sensei, champion of the Pack-Punch Video Arcade, has saved the day. Justice has returned to the world, and our work is done here. Until tomorrow, when the entire planet crumbles into a pile of dust. Stop saying things like that, Dakai shouted. That's the end of chapter 11. I don't know about you guys, but this is getting really good. I can't wait to see what happens next. Until next time.